How's that for an entrance? Hey guys, I'm Phaedra from All Things Phaedra, and if you haven't guessed it yet, I'm talking today all about the 2020 Toyota Supra. Let's get started. Hey guys, it's Phaedra from All Things Phaedra, and if you are here for my Ford Bronco video, first of all, thanks for coming back. And if you're not here from the Ford Bronco video, thank you for coming anyway. As you can tell, I'm here to talk about a pretty hot car. This is the 2020 Toyota Supra. That's right, the 2020, not the 2021. But don't worry, by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you all about this one, and then I'm going to tell you whether or not you should wait for the 2021 if that's something that you're interested in. So, let's step back and pretend like you know nothing about the 2020 Toyota Supra. If you're here, that's probably not the case. You probably know a thing or two. But for those of you that don't, let's talk a little bit about this. Is it a Toyota or is it a BMW? Well, that's a hotly debated topic, but one thing I can tell you is it's a little bit of both. In fact, Car and Driver says BMW provided the mechanical parts for both the latest Z4 and the Supra, and Toyota wrote a very large check. So the complaint is that this is not a Toyota, it's really kind of like a dressed up BMW. And to those people that say that, I say, who cares? Because you're going to get basically a BMW with a much lower price tag. So I'm not here to talk about BMW, except for when we go under the hood. For the rest of the time, I'm going to talk to you specifically about the Supra, what I liked, what I didn't like, and what you should know about what's coming in 2021. All right, we're going to go to the rear, and the first thing I'm going to talk about is the design of the vehicle. So a lot of people have a lot to say about the design, but one thing that's clear is that there is clearly a nod to racing when it comes to the Toyota Supra. If we look back here, you'll see that this is an LED F1 inspired light. And I know a lot of people have gotten some kits that they can use to change this to a backup light or an additional brake light, fog light, as is traditional. You've got the Supra badging, you've got the Toyota badging. I know there have been complaints about that. But overall on the back, it has some really nice lines. I do have some good and bad to tell you about the cargo space, but I'm going to save that for you. If we walk around the edge here, we've got these curved fenders. Now, that doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but my brother-in-law, who is a car nut, swears that this is a challenging curve to make right here in the sheet metal. So kudos to this bumped out fender design. And while we're here, can we talk about these sweet rims? So what you're looking at here are 19-inch forged aluminum twin spoke wheels with a dual tone finish, and I love the look of this. And these also have the Michelin performance tires. It's a little hard to see here. They're definitely summer tires, great for hot July right now, but I don't think I'd be driving around in these in any weather other than right now, but great performance during the summer. You've got a couple other design elements here. You'll see these ridges here that are meant to emulate vents. Now, these are aesthetic, they're not functional. When we get to the hood, again, this is a complaint, these fake vents, but let me tell you something, this is something you can play around with aftermarket. This insert right here comes out, so if you really did want to tune this and you wanted to add some additional air vents here, you certainly could do that. And let's take a look at the roof. We've got the double bubble roof right here. Know what that's for? That is, again, a nod to racing, and you'll see that carried into the interior. What that does is that gives you additional room, you know, for your helmet when you take it on the track. And speaking of track, this is a car that would definitely perform on the track, and we're going to talk about the engine and the drive right now. I don't always show the engine, I don't always talk a lot about the drive, but wouldn't that be a tragedy if I didn't do that for the Toyota Supra? So I'm going to show you the engine, the V6 engine, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, but I gotta start it up. So fun fact, to open the hood, you have to pull the hood latch, and then you have to put your fingers under here for about 5 minutes looking desperately for the unhook latch, and it's not here. So you have to pull the hood latch twice in order for it to actually release the hood. So what we are looking at here is 3.0 liter inline 6-cylinder engine. Puts out 335 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque. Not a whole lot to look at here. This is the only engine option for 2020. I'll tell you more at the end how that's going to change in 2021. Also, you get an 8-speed automatic transmission. There is no manual transmission for the Supra. It does have paddle shifters, and they work pretty well, and I'll tell you more about that once we go inside. But first, I want to take you for a quick drive in this and show you what I love about it, how I love the acceleration, and my favorite thing, sport mode. Let's put this 6-cylinder to the test. It puts out 335 horsepower, 365 pound-feet of torque. The complaint is that the engine is less than what the BMW Z4 offers. However, Car and Driver puts the 0 to 60 at 3.8 seconds, which is only 0.2 of a second less than what you get with the BMW Z4. So I'm going to show you, I'm not taking it up to 60, but I'm going to show you a little bit of how quickly it accelerates. And the danger is you want to do that every single time you are at a stop sign, at a stoplight, and it doesn't mean you're speeding, it just means you're doing a hard acceleration, and it is intoxicating. You might also be hearing the sound of sport mode. You can put it in sport mode, which does rev the RPMs a little higher, and it gives you that great garbly sound coming out of the exhaust. I think that that is actually the best way to let your neighbors know that you're reviewing a really awesome car. Make sure that they know that you've got it, even if they don't see it in your driveway. So I use that frequently. The other thing that you can use in the car is the manual mode. So it's pretty easy to do. It does have the manual mode, which allows you to use these paddle shifters. And I find that it feels remarkably like a stick shift vehicle. So you accelerate, shift up, shift up. The only problem with this is if you're used to driving a manual transmission, your instinct is to take the foot off the clutch. Take your foot off the clutch, but there's no clutch. So what I find myself doing is every time I shift, I'm taking my foot off of the gas, which is of course what you don't want. So it does take some adjusting if you really want to get in manual mode and you really want to use the paddle shifters. But if you're looking for just day-to-day driving, you can take it out of sport mode. You can drive it in regular mode. It has the stop-start engine, so it's not all that bad from a fuel economy standpoint. But if you're buying this vehicle, you probably want to have fun with it. So go ahead, stick it in sport mode, and get driving. So let's talk pricing for a minute. The Toyota Supra for 2020 starts at $49,990. What I'm sitting in right here is the Toyota Supra premium trim. The premium trim starts at $53,990, and this one has been optioned with the drive assist package for $1195 and a carpeted cargo mat for $80, which I'm going to show you in the back. That's kind of a no-brainer. I have to say, it still drives me crazy that these drive assist packages are upgrades. I feel like anything that makes the drive experience safer is something that cars should be adding, manufacturers should be adding as value add to each vehicle. You are looking at the Renaissance Red, and I'm going to tell you about the gas mileage. Not from my observation, because when I'm driving a car like this, I really don't care what my gas mileage is. I put this thing in sport. In fact, this is one of the few vehicles that I've had where I had to refill the fuel tank myself because I just burned through it. It's so much fun to drive. So it gets 2431, that's the reported miles per gallon, with an average of about 26 miles per gallon. I would guess I'm on the lower side of that because I might have been a little heavy on the gas pedal this week. But I want to take you through a quick tour of the interior, show you what's in the back, and then tell you my favorite things that I loved about the Supra and the things that I didn't quite love. Let's take a look at this cockpit here. So I've had people say that when you get inside, you pretty much feel like you're in a BMW. I don't know about you, but I've spent more time in Toyotas than BMWs, so I can't really say. But I also want to mention with the premium trim, I do get this 8.8-inch center touchscreen that does support Apple CarPlay, And I'm going to talk about that because they do have a great setup for that. This is the dashboard right here. As you can see, it's a sports car, so the main focus is the tachometer. You do get your speed over here, and you do have a head-up display. See if you can see that right there. That is adjustable according to your height. Not a whole lot of gadgets here on the steering wheel, which is fine. Most of what you need is going to be right there in the touch screen. You do have your climate control and your ability to control your media. Down here, you have a nice place for your phone, and it does support wireless charging. That's what that is right down there. And you have a USB port, but not necessary if you don't want it. It has wireless Apple CarPlay. The shifter is a little bit different. You do have to press this button to get it out of park mode. To put it in drive or reverse, you have to press that button. And then when you are parking, you have to press that button right there. After a week, I still was confusing that and getting that messed up. Right here is where you can put it in manual mode if you want to use the paddle shifters, like I showed you earlier. Then you have your automatic parking brake. You have your sport mode. That's a big obvious button right there because you are going to use that a lot. And some other safety features right here. This is to control your screen, but the screen is touch screen. I'm used to this from driving a Mazda, so I use that quite a bit, but I actually found that it was more convenient to just use the touch screen right here. Now you might have noticed while I was down here the carbon fiber accents. Again, kind of that nod to racing. And then if we go back here, you'll see you do have some cup holders, but if you're a short lady like me, you're going to be putting your arm way back to access your drink. If you're a taller guy and you have the seat back here, then it's probably not a problem for you. And then if you go all the way back, we have a little bit of a compartment there that's, you could put an extra drink there or snacks or whatever. There is no lift-up console, and we are going to go in the way back. But before we do that, I want to take you back up front to the sound system. It's got a JBL premium audio system in the car. And then I want to talk about the seats real quick. So if you're looking at the seats, they definitely have that nod to racing, the vented seats, and I found them to be quite comfortable. It has a lot of controls down here, forward, backward, memory seat, and then it has not only the lumbar support, but these bolsters can move in and out depending on the size of the driver. While we're out of the vehicle, let's take a look at what's in back. Now, in order to get to the cargo space in the back, you're either going to have your key fob or press that button right there. All right, let's take a look. It's a sports car, right? So who cares about the cargo space? Well, I care about the cargo space, and I'm quite impressed with what the Supra has to offer. It's really hard to get a good scale there, but I went grocery shopping, I went to Home Goods. I got some pretty big items, and I was surprised at how well they fit in the back here. Can you get a sense of that trunk space? Look at that. Look at that. That's actually pretty decent. You could easily fit 2 suitcases if you're going away for the weekend. You'll see your rear speakers right there and an easy pass through to the front, which makes it easy. I'm just going to say it. If you're a lady and you need a place to put your purse, or if you're a man and you need a place to put your European carry-all, that's where you put it right there. And then this cover right here, if you did need additional space, you can unhook it so it doesn't have to sit flat, it can sit up. So far, there's a lot to love with the Toyota Supra, right? I mean, it's a fast red sports car. What's not to love? Well, there are some things to love and there are some things not to love. So I'm gonna run through a few of those things really quickly before we do a wrap up and I tell you what's new for 2021. So let's start with the things I love. The most obvious one, this car is fun to drive. It is fast and it is fun. It fits me, right? I'm 5'3", I'm relatively small, but with the right settings, I fit very well in the car. It has pretty amazing cargo space for a fun little sports car. I love the styling. It's very comfortable to drive. It also makes great sounds, especially in sport mode. I love that sound. Okay, let's talk about the things I don't love, okay? They're picky, but I gotta tell you about them. First of all, this is just the nature of a sports car. It's not easy to get in and out of. It's a low car and not always the easiest to get in and out of. And if you are larger than me, I saw this happen twice, be careful and duck your head because you may get bonked when you get in. Let's talk about this wireless Apple CarPlay. When it works, it's amazing. When it doesn't work, it's very frustrating. I think part of the issue is using the wireless charger tends to overheat the phone, and when the phone gets overheated, it had issues with the CarPlay connectivity. My other issue, and again, this is a sports car issue, is visibility. So visibility out the front is pretty good, but you go around the back and you've got some pretty major blind spots there. Can we talk about the horn? That's a pretty sad horn for a car like this. The legroom, fine for someone that's shorter, but for someone that's a little bit taller, it can be a little bit tight over there. For people that are a little smaller, although I fit well into the driver's seat, we've got the paddle shifters right here, and my hands are a little small, so I feel like they're not as close as I would like them to be to the edge of the steering wheel. It's just distance-wise. This is something that's really minor, and I know they can't build every car for a 5'3" driver. All of these buttons. What are these buttons for? These buttons are for your media settings, your different radio stations. And I don't know, do we really need that? I feel like this space could have been used for something a little bit better. This is gonna be a little bit hard to see on screen here, but if we go back to the main menu, some of the settings are actually a little bit difficult to find. I usually like to try and figure out where things are, and I needed a little help. What do you think of this interior color? It's all black. Do you like it? I hope so, because that is the only interior color you can get. That's a complaint of mine. I don't like dark interiors. And this is a complaint, and I've heard other people say it as well. If you want to open the rear hatch, don't waste your time doing this like I did. There's no button under there. You have to use the key fob or the button on the inside in order to open the hatch. I found that to be really inconvenient at times. So it's time to answer the question, should you wait for 2021? Those are just around the corner. We're so close. Should you wait for the 2021 Toyota Supra? And my answer is maybe. So what's different in 2021? Well, primarily the engine. So next year they're going to do a few engine tweaks to the V6, and that means that they're going to bump up the horsepower to 382, which is on par with the BMW Z4. So if you have a V6 now, you might be disappointed that it's going to be even faster next year. The other thing that they're offering is an inline 4-cylinder engine that's going to give you 255 horsepower. If you care more about how it looks and less about how it drives, go for the 4-cylinder. It's going to be a much cheaper option. My personal opinion is, if you're getting this car though, you want the engine. So stick with the V6. If you're not a super speedster, I don't think you need to wait till next year. In fact, I'm going to predict that you're going to get a bargain on end of year 2020s very, very soon. In fact, I looked up my local incentives. They're giving you $3,500 cash back and 0% financing. So now might be the right time to cash in on the 2020 Toyota Supras. With all of that said, it's a fantastic car whenever you decide to buy it, wherever you decide to buy it. So thanks for joining me for this quick look at the 2020 Toyota Supra. I hope you enjoyed watching this video because I definitely enjoyed driving this car. This was a great week spent in the Toyota Supra. Great way to suffer through a hot part of summer. So thanks for joining me. If you have some comments, please leave them. I always love to read your feedback. Give this video a like, that really helps me out. And remember to subscribe for more cars, entertainment, and travel just like this. Thanks, guys.